How is a security system that fails 97% of the time on 12 million websites? Because it was never about security. That simple checkbox you click every day isn't protecting you or anyone from bots. The checkbox job is to watch you. Security is just a lie, continuously told over a decade. This technology is called reCAPTCHA, and you interact with it constantly. It's supposed to tell humans apart from bots, except it's absolutely terrible at this job. Well, how terrible? When researchers test it, bots beat reCAPTCHA 97% of the time. So if it doesn't stop bots, why does Google keep it everywhere? That question is where this whole thing unravels. Here's what everyone thinks they know. The checkbox tracks your mouse movements right before you click. Robots move in perfect straight lines, but humans move in wiggly, imperfect patterns. That's how it supposedly knows you're human. But hackers have been beating this for years. They wrote simple code that mimics human mouse movements. Any 5-year-old can download code and beat this security system. That code is public and anyone can use it. It's so easy that calling reCAPTCHA security is basically a joke. Which means something else is going on. In 2007, a researcher created reCAPTCHA as an actual security tool. It was supposed to stop bots from spamming websites. Then in 2009, Google bought it. At first, nothing seemed to change. But in 2014, Google launched version 2. This is when we first saw that famous checkbox. And this is the moment everything actually changed, because version 2 wasn't better at catching bots. Within 3 years, hackers were beating it with an 85% success rate. Then in 2018, Google launched version 3. Researchers tested it immediately and found practically no improvement. Bots were beating it 97% of the time. Each new version got worse at security, not better. Google kept saying they were improving it, but the numbers told a different story. They were getting beaten faster with each release. So why would Google keep pushing a failing product? Because somewhere between 2009 and 2014, the product changed. Google stopped trying to catch bots. They started trying to catch you. Dr. Andrew Skirls studied exactly what reCAPTCHA actually collects. reCAPTCHA doesn't just watch your mouse movement for 2 seconds. It can track every keystroke, every click, and every page you visit. It takes a pixel-by-pixel fingerprint of your entire browser. A complete real-time map of everything you do online. And remember, reCAPTCHA is on 12.5 million websites. So basically everywhere. Which means Google gets access to your activity across millions of websites. If reCAPTCHA is embedded somewhere, Google can see what you're doing there. All of it. And not only they can use reCAPTCHA to know everything to know about you, but they can assign you tasks like if you are a character from SimCity. Back in 2015, a class action lawsuit was filed against Google. The allegations were wild, but the judge confirmed they were completely true. Every time you solved a reCAPTCHA, you weren't just proving you're human. You were working for Google for free. Here's how the scam worked. Those distorted words you had to type? reCAPTCHA was only testing you on one of them. It already knew what the other word said, but you didn't know which was which. So you typed both words carefully. And when you did that, you were digitizing books and newspapers for Google. Google had contracts with publishers like the New York Times. They needed millions of documents digitized for Google Books and Google News. But paying people to do that work would cost billions. So Google tricked you into doing it for free. Researchers calculated that users spent 819 million hours solving these tests. If one person did all that work, it would take them 93,000 years. Google monetized that free labor at $6.1 billion. The judge acknowledged all of this was true. But the lawsuit was dropped because the time per person was so small. A few seconds here, a few seconds there. Google's defense was basically that each individual theft was too petty to prosecute. Meanwhile, Google kept insisting they don't use reCAPTCHA data for targeted advertising, because if they're not using this data for ads, then what are they using it for? The answer is buried in Google's terms of service. They say the data is used for general security purposes. That phrase is deliberately vague. And why? Security purposes could mean protecting websites from attacks to keep tracking every time you blink when you scroll to protect your declining retention. The point is, it's a digital Wild West. which mainly use it for sharing your data with the government. Like, if you want to submit an anonymous tip to the FBI or NDA, you have to pass through reCAPTCHA, which means your anonymous tip isn't actually anonymous, because Google already knows exactly who you are, which is whatever I mean. There is a high possibility you made 0 anonymous reports. But here is the fun one for you, so you don't feel left out. There are secret courts called FISA courts that can force Google to hand over your data. They are like the Walmart version of Illuminati, because we don't even know where inside the federal building they meet. But they have authority to grab all the data, meaning every click to every mapped-out internet history of yours is up for grabs for FISA courts. And if you are thinking of suing the Google or FISA courts, remember Google's vague security purposes. Language covers all of this. So let me put all the pieces together. reCAPTCHA has been terrible at stopping bots for over a decade. But Google keeps pushing it to more and more websites anyway. They're collecting massive amounts of data from your internet activity. They're making you do billions of dollars worth of free labor. And they're using more than just for advertising. reCAPTCHA is not interested if you are a human or a bot. It's asking which human you are. reCAPTCHA runs invisibly in the background before you ever see a checkbox. It's watching everything you do on that page. Then it cross-references all of that against Google's massive surveillance database. If Google can identify you based on your digital fingerprint, they let you through instantly. No checkbox, no images, nothing. You probably didn't even realize reCAPTCHA was there. But what happens if Google can't identify you? Maybe you cleared your cookies. Maybe you're browsing in incognito mode. Maybe you're using a privacy-focused browser that blocks tracking. Suddenly you get flagged as suspicious. You're grouped in with the actual bots even though you're clearly human. And now you have to prove yourself. How do you prove yourself? By labeling images for Google's machine learning systems. Click all the traffic lights. Click all the crosswalks. Click all the motorcycles. You're training Google's AI for self-driving cars, for maps, for image recognition. For free. For a company worth $2 trillion, just because you tried to protect your privacy. And if you refuse, if you close the page or decline to solve the puzzle, reCAPTCHA blocks you. That website isn't accessible to you anymore. This is what Google actually built. It's not a security system. It's a digital toll booth. They planted it on 12.5 million websites across the internet. And now they control who gets through. Pay the toll with your identity by letting them track everything you do. Or pay the toll with your labor by training their AI systems. Those are your only 2 options. Try to hide your identity and you get flagged. Try to refuse their terms and you get blocked. Google turned reCAPTCHA into a checkpoint system for the entire internet. And they've been doing this for a decade while telling everyone it's about stopping spam.